All right, welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Yes, indeed. Now, going back to former President Obasanjo's narratives and what's playing out in the policy, as you've seen there, Mr. Laolu Akande joins us this morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
Yeah, so where do we start? The former president has done it again.
I like that he has done it again.
So he's even though as far away as we thought, was he thinking, wait a minute, maybe if this one is too far, it might not make that same kind of impact. But he's a strategist, having been in the military, so they know. But all of those comments, eventually, the government responded to it. So start from the comments, the lecture he delivered himself. Give us your impression about that.
Okay, right. So, as we know, I mean, President Obasanjo is a statesman, is a patriot. I don't think anybody can deny the fact that he loves the country, he has fought the war. So we have to give him his due credits for that. But to the extent that President Obasanjo actually has been president for 3 times, you know, he basically had 3 terms, and there's nobody that has that experience, 11 years altogether, from 76 to 79, and then 1999 to 2003, and then 2003 to 2007, was sworn in 3 times. Now, he must take responsibility for the state of the nation where the country is today. I mean, if he were to be honest, and this is the point, if former President Obasanjo were to be honest, he should be telling us that, look, I share in the responsibility of where Nigeria is in today. That way, people take him serious. Because a lot of the things that we are sorting out today, Obasanjo is part of the problem. And it's difficult for any honest analysis to ignore that. Is it a question of corruption? It was under Obasanjo that they brought cash to the National Assembly. We can't forget how much, I mean, he corralled state governors and businessmen to fund his presidential campaign, some of them with state funds. I mean, so Obasanjo cannot talk about corruption. So he should take responsibility. The first thing that President Obasanjo needs to do, if he doesn't want to remain inelegant, because his lecture is clearly inelegant, is to own up, to say that, look, I take responsibility for some of the problems that we are dealing with now. And I think, having done that, let's see what else we can do. So, but if you are not willing to do that, then please keep silent.
So that on one hand. On the other hand, are we then going to say, or are we going to base all of what has happened after that? For instance, we've had several elections in this country, and people have come in, they've done 2 terms, for the most part, almost all the presidents. Are we then going to say, well, all of those who came in there were not good enough? What the President Obasanjo did at that time supersedes what all of them have done?
Well, so I think there is a major systemic problem, and this is some of the things that I have been reflecting over. So it is not just the political leadership. There is fundamental problem with the political leadership. We don't have leaders who really are committed to the public good, who are really, really committed to the public good. But part of the problem for that is because they also come out of a system that is losing its moral values right from the person at the end of the lowest rung of the ladder. We are losing our moral values, and it's coming all the way to the top. So the people who emerge to take leadership positions come out among us. So we need to fix the system. And that's why I am saying that, look, what has to happen in Nigeria now is for a concerted effort of politicians and non-politicians. Non-politicians must be involved. Non-politicians must take active role in sorting it out. Don't let us allow politicians to turn it only into an issue of getting elected. Yeah. Because they will weaponize all these issues so that they can win the next election. And I think that is what President Obasanjo is trying to do.
So let me ask you. Now, of course, not that one is holding brief for him. But for those who say, look, the way the government responds to this is tantamount to a walk ban quarreling with its tools. Because you were elected, you've campaigned vigorously, and the same thing with previous presidents, that you will fix this.
Yeah.
So what is it that the former president has said that is not happening now? Because after all, many reminded us last year, the current president said Nigeria has leadership problems, and it's on tape.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So that's the point that I thought for Obasanjo to be able to open the space in a way that brings real progress for our country, he has to own up. Part of the problem is that Obasanjo, it will seem, has a personal vendetta against Tinubu, and everybody knows it. And I can give you examples. Okay, Obasanjo was the one that refused to pay the local government allocation for Lagos State when Tinubu was president, even after the Supreme Court said it's illegal, you can't hold it. Obasanjo left office not making the payment. Tinubu was the only one.
Not making the payment to the ones, the LCDAs, not the local government.
They were not, they withheld their local government allocations.
Because I think they said that that process was not complete, so you can't continue with the LCDAs.
The Supreme Court said the money should be released to Lagos State government. Obasanjo did not release the money. Obasanjo violated the ruling of the Supreme Court. We haven't forgotten this thing. In 2003, when Obasanjo raided Southwest with its electoral malpractices, it was only Tinubu that was able to hold down fire to fire. So there's a personal vendetta between Tinubu and Obasanjo. And Obasanjo this is lecture. You know, this calling him a Miloko when he refused to attend the Council of State meetings. A statesman like him ought to go to that Council of State meeting and make the point in the Council of State meeting. But we don't know why he did not come.
Okay, so two things. Didn't the president say so? That is his turn.
Yes.
So
yes.
What has Obasanjo said that is different?
I'm just saying that he's making a jest of the guy.
Okay, so if anyone of us said
that's what I'm saying.
Then they'll say, oh, no, they can listen to us. But
it's not that it's not true. It is true that the president who said that I'm local. No, but I'm saying that I'm trying to establish that the issue between Obasanjo and President Tinubu go way deeper, and people must understand. We must remind ourselves so that Obasanjo is not doing us any good. Obasanjo is fighting his own personal vendetta against President Tinubu. This is what is happening. Nigerians should not be fooled. The only thing that Obasanjo can tell us is that, okay, I own up. If he owns up, then we start to take him really seriously.
If he owns up, how does that change the fact of what he has said?
Well, I mean, so at least now we know that he's honest.
But the things he said, economy is, we all see that.
Very true, and we don't need him to show us that. We all know that. We know that already.
It's interesting. I mean, first and foremost, I must confess that I'm a little taken aback by your own analysis this morning. Because
it's important to bring out the juice.
I have always known, I mean, you have spared this particular government no punches, and if you were to hear from Obasanjo, which is not particularly out of character for him, we know, I mean, you say he has a personal vendetta against President Tinubu, but we also know that there has been no government that Obasanjo has spared, maybe with the exception of President Yar'Adua. And who knows, maybe if Yar'Adua had lived his full tenure in office, who knows what would have happened, you know, with President Obasanjo. There's been no president that President Obasanjo hasn't taken on.
That doesn't cure him of the vendetta.
Oh, well, it doesn't cure him, but we also know that he has precedence. We also know that, you know, he's been that way since he left office. Even before he became president, he's been like that. I think it was Musikiliu Mujib that chronicled Obasanjo's letters right from even when he was a soldier. So some people will say it's not particularly out of character. I mean, if he has a vendetta, perhaps, but even if he did not, maybe he will still do this. You don't think so?
Well, no, I mean, my point is that if Obasanjo or anyone gets on the pulpit to pontificate, then we are going to question their moral basis. And I'm saying that Obasanjo does not have any moral basis to go against Tinubu. Okay. He doesn't. Because all the things that is said, that is happening now, which is true, He perpetrated it when he was in power.
It's interesting because I'm looking at the
There is nothing that is said that he did not perpetrate when he was in government.
I'm looking at the title of the lecture. It was something around leadership failure and state capture, etc. And, you know, one of the things he said at the beginning of that lecture was that he's an appropriate person to have been invited. He said, at the risk of being immodest, he's an appropriate person to have been invited to give this lecture. First is a Nigerian president who's been there how many years, how many tenures. He gives the reason why he is the appropriate person to be invited. He also speaks in very glowing terms, of course, of Chinua Achebe, etc. So we mustn't forget the context in which he was invited, and why he was invited, and the topic, perhaps, that he was given to, you know, speak on. How do you speak on that? And I think he also talks about how, in his time, he was president with some modest records of success. And that is something that we cannot take away from President Obasanjo. Even the first analyst who spoke on this program says, you cannot take it away from Obasanjo that he was a present president when he was in power. So while we say that, you know, yes, you might have a vendetta and maybe he doesn't have all the moral credentials, there are things that you cannot take away from President Obasanjo's tenure.
And that was the first thing that I said, that, you know, you have to grant him his credentials. You know, he handed over power in 1979. You know, and of course he grew to become an African statesman. Yes, you have to, you know, we can't deny that.
An African statesman, the economy performed better during his time as president.
In terms of the GDP, but that's another story. I even think, and I've said this before, I even think that Obasanjo is one of the more, and that's very tough to say, but if you look at all the presidents since 1999, he seems to have a better grip of things. But my point here is that we should not, because this is a commonwealth, it's a public commonwealth. We are talking about public interest. And that's my own focus. Each time I come out and make an analysis, I'm looking at the public interest. Who is taking charge of that? That's my own issue. And if you look at, even if you look at that lecture, so he was invited to give a lecture that has to do with Achebe and all that, and he quoted Achebe over and over and over and over and over in the conclusion, everywhere, confirming what Achebe said. Now, that same Achebe, when he rejected Obasanjo's award, you know, I think in 2004, I will read the letter, just the first paragraph. He said, I read this letter with a very heavy heart. For some time now, I have watched events in Nigeria with alarm and dismay. I have watched particularly the chaos in my own state of Anambra, where a small clique of renegades openly boasting its connection in the high places. He went on and said, even with the presidency of Obasanjo keeping quiet. And in the conclusion, he said, Nigeria's condition today under your watch is, however, too dangerous for silence. This is the same Achebe that Obasanjo is now venerating. Look, come on. Obasanjo owes Nigerians an apology to say that, look, yes, we have problems. And these are the problems. We can't deny those problems that he articulated. But he holds us to say, I was part of this problem, and now having realized it, let's sort it out. Why do you think Babangida is keeping quiet? Why do you think Abdulsalami is keeping quiet? Why do you think Jonathan is keeping quiet?
But you said they shouldn't keep quiet, that people should speak up.
That's what I'm saying. They are keeping quiet, in my view, because you know, they know that they can't take that kind of role that Obasanjo is taking without, first of all, owning up. If Obasanjo wants to be the one for us to listen to, he should own up. He should own up to his irresponsibility when he was president. He should. So it's the right thing. And we should not ask for less. As a people, we should not ask for less from our leaders.
So here's the thing. Should we be looking to him to own up, or we should be looking to institutions? If we feel that he's done certain things, where are the institutions to hold him accountable? A man can refuse to own up or not own up.
I agree.
If the systems are there, then if he owns up, what changes?
I agree. And that's why I said that the problems are actually, they are systemic problems. The reason why it is useful for him to own up is that then we can together address the problems honestly and begin to sort it out. But please don't come and lecture us about corruption.
Is he lecturing us? Is it us who's lecturing, or he's lecturing the people who are currently, I mean, the people whom we should be holding to account? Because, Chimley, I would rephrase your question and say, not the institutions that we should be holding accountable. The president, the person who is there, the person who said it is my turn.
Yeah.
Isn't that the person we should be holding to account to say, this is what President Obasanjo has said. If this is coming from no less than somebody who has worn your shoes and knows where it pinches, and he believes that so much better can be done, why aren't you doing better?
Which is what we are doing. We can do that. Okay? There's a saying in Yoruba language that says that Oroko dunenu yaule. That means that the mother of the thief cannot have credibility to speak. Obasanjo is not the one to lecture us on corruption, even about election. Obasanjo rigged 2003 election, rigged 2007 election. President Yar'Adua came out.
No, but he didn't say my elections was rigged.
He came out to say that it was flawed.
Yeah.
That is as far as it will go.
But see,
and we have evidences of
that it was flawed.
The reforms that came out, which were meant to address it. So Obasanjo shouldn't be talking about proper elections.
So
he did not conduct proper election when he was there.
So Laolu, here's the thing. We seem to be fixated on him. I mean, yeah, there might be relevant reasons why. There are several persons who were in the judiciary, who presided over and gave judgments.
True.
There are several persons who are in politics who were their beneficiaries, they kept mum.
Yeah.
There are people in government today. And as a matter of fact, I've heard several people also ask, what effrontery or moral right does this government have to even reply him the way they did when Nigerians are suffering as a result of their policies?
I agree with all of that, the Chamberlain, by the way. I agree with all of that. I agree that the government of the day should address the problem. And that is what we do as journalists, to put their feet to the fire. Okay? My only issue here is that, look, I am interested in an elite consensus. I'm interested in
do we
us,
actually have elite?
I'm interested in us trying to get to the root of our problem. Let me tell you what is happening, honestly. This is my theory. They want to win the election in 2027, and they're moving all around the place. They are going to weaponize this problem and let it appear as though, it's an altruistic thing. It is not. It is not. And this is my point. This is why I am so particular about this. This is not, they're not trying to fix it. They just want to get power back. They said, look, we have to take this guy out of the villa. That is what all of this is about. And I'm saying that we have to be deeper, because if you take the guy out of power, you are bringing back the same people with the same character. And we have gone through this enough. It's
stronger,
like Israelites going around and around the wilderness.
So what's
stronger? It's time for us to make a break.
What stronger countermeasure or what stronger break can we make other than this government say, okay, or if I go to the market, what I'm buying for 2,000 today is 1,000. Is that not a stronger statement?
I agree.
Is that not the answer? So if that doesn't happen,
that is helpful. That is helpful in the short term, yes, so that there can be succor. And this is I'm also worried about this. There's too much poverty, multidimensional poverty. I believe that government of the day, the president and the governors have a lot to do to try and sort out the issues. What I'm trying to say here is that look, don't let us allow these politicians to use these problems to weaponize it and then try to change themselves in power. If we are not going to get anywhere further with it, we will still come back to this point. So why don't we have a more holistic conversation that says that, look, can we change certain things in our rules, in the Constitution, in the way parties operate, in the way the primaries and internal democracy, all the things that we find problematic, the judiciary, all the challenges. Can we find a way that all of us can agree that this is the minimum that we shouldn't go below? That is an elite consensus. And then we start to build anew. This kind of rhetoric that Obasanjo is promoting is not in the interest of that new beginning. No, they just want to win 2027. They want to get the guy out of the place, put their own people there. These are the same people who haven't taken responsibility for where we are. This is my point.
Well, I mean, some people will say, at the end of the day, will it really matter as long as they're doing it through the votes? as long as it is the people of Nigeria that are taking those decisions, it shouldn't matter, should it?
Do you think, Markwe, that the Nigerian people are taking decisions in the elections? In the real sense?
I should ask you.
Our elections are still significantly flawed. Our elections are still significantly flawed. We know it. And that's part of the problem that I'm talking about. There are deeper issues. Our moral values have declined. The kind of things that we accept. And we are in this country in the Second Republic. We had a far better government because we had a far better society. And that's my point. This problem is deeper than political problem.
Yes, it is deeper. And some people will say, whilst values have declined, values are even more at risk now with the current state of impoverishment of the people.
Guess what?
I mean, all we had to do was go to Ondo State for the elections. And by the way, I don't know whether that cap is from Ondo State.
No, this cap is from Ibadan.
It's from Ibadan, okay. The last elections that happened in Ondo State, the only thing, we didn't hear about violence, thankfully, but the amount of vote buying, it was pretty significant in such a way that it didn't miss the news. People even admitted it, It was so prominent.
That's the problem.
So,
we have to be speaking to those problems. Those are the things that we have to
sort out. But how do we solve that? Because if people are so poor, and right now we're looking at a situation where people basically are not sure of where the next meal will come from. And you're telling them that the day that's going to come and they'll be giving monies for free from government. Never mind what government is saying that they've sent money to 25 million people. It's unsure if we can verify those people and how often they are sending those monies to the most vulnerable. But if people are unsure of where the next meal is going to come from, given where we currently are, can we really avoid those conversations ahead of 2027?
Well, so the responsibility of the government of the day to take care of the situation is still their responsibility, and we continue to put their feet to the fire. We should deal with the problem of hardship. We've talked a lot about some of the things that can be done. We should deal with the problem of poverty, okay? So we shouldn't wait. We're not saying that government should wait. Let us first of all sort our moral decline, which is actually the genesis. No. I'm saying that government should be held responsible for its responsibilities for welfare of the people and security. But I'm saying that now, the rest of us, we should now look beyond that. Our churches, our mosques, our religious leaders, our public intellectuals, they have to add their voice to what is happening in this country. How do we avert a situation where the destiny of this country is not going to be realized if we continue like this? I want a situation where we don't allow politicians to weaponize those problems to keep themselves in and out of power. It's a very important point that we have to pay attention to, Margaret.
Well, I am also very, very curious as to not just the current political situation as witnessed, as what we've just witnessed in Ondo State, but I'm also curious as to, what it is that we can do to make sure that how do I put it now, that the political class, do not shy away. Let me give you an instance. This particular, I think it was the first analyst that said that when he saw the response of the president's spokespeople, he didn't think that it was the president's spokespeople that should be responding. You have been a spokesperson.
Okay.
In that, I don't know whether you agree that you think it's the president who should respond directly or it's the spokespeople. But even at that, some people will say that whilst it is that they can attack the former president and say you are in no moral standing to tell us, to pontificate to us, shouldn't they be saying what it is they're doing to correct some of the things, some of the issues that the former president has raised in his letter? Okay,
so two things. Yes, I think that the response should also address the problems, because what he has done, what Obasanjo has done, is to call them out. Okay, so you should deal with that. Okay. But to the question of whether the president should respond or not, I would never advise, in these circumstances, I would never advise.
President.
No. Not because I know that there are issues. The president should just continue to do his work. Let his spokespeople handle it. I disagree with Mr. Adebayo that said no. The president shouldn't have to respond. He shouldn't have to. Let the people whose job it is to engage in the public, let them respond. And I agree. Let them also address the issues that he has raised. What are you doing about poverty? What are you doing about human capital development? What are you doing to address the problems? Let them address that.
But during your time, I thought the former president, Buhari, said, look, there's no media aid should respond to President Obasanjo. Well, because of that respect.
Yeah, but
so
eventually
reduce it.
But even in that, at that time, eventually there was a response. You see, because so in the case of President Buhari was a military man.
So
the
respect, the honor was there.
So we normally even when I worked with the vice president, there was even a time I got into trouble, over this kind of stuff because he said no, don't talk about it. So people who have respect will behave like that. But there's a job to be done. They can't call out your government and then there will be silence. They can't. You have to go.
So here's the thing
and
now.
say, what that thing that you said, this is the response to it.
Could they have done it without saying you are in no position to pontificate?
No, I think they should say that he's no position to pontificate. It's important.
It's almost expected.
But what position are they now? Because all of them seem to be at the same level, all the spokespersons. So which one is which? How did the people that know who is what?
Very important question, Chimbali. I think that the president should set his house in order. If you have 3 spokespersons, that's fine. But we must have a number 1 spokesperson. It is called order. Order is the first rule in heaven. On how to, even among thieves, there must be order. Who is the main? And that is why Boala got into the problem that he got to yesterday. Boala felt, and I think, if you look at the title that he was given, he felt that he was going to be the official spokesperson. That was what Ajuri was calling himself. And nobody corrected him. Now, if he's going to take a jury's spot, then that is what he becomes. Guess what? Few hours after, the rug was removed from his feet, like somebody said. The president should set his house in order. There must be a head of his comms team. There must be.
Okay. Thank you for coming on, Laolu.
Thank you so much for having me.
I always wonder, when people say there must be order, even among team. Have you been a team before?
It's a saying.
Have they been there with them to know how they share their loot?
Order, what I do is honor amongst thieves. There are some things that even thieves consider sacred.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead. Before we go, I think Yomi says, principles or policies of current administrations are for our salvation in the hour of needs like now. If we desert them now, how can we be saved from the snares and pains of selves, cabals, bandits? It takes time. Any leader who promises to fix Nigeria in 14-year term is a scam. We didn't get here in 4 years, but I'm hoping the hard work of the current administration shall yield speedy productivity in good time. Pure-hearted, healthy-minded people like President Tinubu love work and happy in their labors. They never complained of being overworked. Let's just give him time. For help is on our way, he says.
I could have said that was Sermon on the Mount when you start to hear salvation and saved. But Yomi, thank you so much for sending in your message.
Oh my goodness. Yes, and thank you for watching as well. That is it today. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.
I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf. Have a lovely day.